Internet! Hello! Welcome to Blue Frog Studios. This is the control room where we do all of the stuff. We're upgrading our cameras, and I thought we could go through it together. You know, you could see a little behind the scenes of the gear. Normally for our stage cameras, or like kind of flavor cams or trash cams, whatever we want to call it, we use the Z-Cam, I don't know, what's this called? E1. It's essentially a cinema camera in the size of a GoPro. They're great when you have great lighting, which we luckily have ample amounts of. It's literally just a cube with a sensor and you can put lenses on it. Since we use them so often, you know, the inputs, they're starting to get a little finicky. By finicky, I mean they don't work anymore. So the power is, you can't power it, which you kind of need to do for, you know, electronics. And what they currently look like is a rat's nest of cables and power and standards converters and SDI to HDMI adapters, and it's not good. And a lot of the time we use it as like a drum mic, so it's kind of crammed into a awkward spot, you know, behind a snare drum, in between a hi-hat or whatever. And once you set it and you put the camera there and you get back into the control room and you look at the monitor and you're like, oh, it's out of focus, or it's cutting his head off, or it looks like garbage. It's annoying as hell to run back and forth and constantly have to adjust things. So we picked up one of the brand new Blackmagic, there's dust and shit on here already, Blackmagic Micro Studio 4K G2, which is essentially Blackmagic's version of the same thing. I don't have a knife. I don't know where a knife is, so we're going to use a screwdriver. Blackmagic, great company, make amazing cameras, make amazing programs, hardware. We use a bunch of their stuff for streaming and recording. We're using their ATEM rack mounted. It's a thing that goes into a rack and you can put a bunch of cameras in it and then you can do stuff. Anyway, it's great. We use a bunch of their stuff, and I've been trying to get some Blackmagic cameras in the studio here for a long time. So, plastic. Get out of here. This is a tiny box for what it can do and what it does. Manual. The internet exists. Stickers. We're gonna put them on stuff. Now, with the older ones, I think this is the third generation or third rendition, they had a breakout box, and essentially there was an input on the side where you would plug in, it looked like a monitor cable, like an old monitor cable, not like an HDMI or whatever. And then it would have all these I/O, all these inputs where you could put power, you could put SDI, you could do a bunch of, it was just an octopus that you would shove into the side of the camera and you could do a bunch of stuff with. Now, this being the third iteration, they've kind of changed it a bit. So it's got its own power, which is important. You got a bunch of adapters in case we decide to move the studio to Germany. We could plug in the camera. Put those in the box later. Alright, so power. Boom, one problem solved. And it's got a screw-in thing. So you can, it never comes out and it doesn't get loose, and it probably won't break after a couple of years like ours do. And here we go. So this is it. This is the camera. This is a tiny camera, micro four thirds sensor. No, that's not true. Maybe. Yeah. Micro four thirds sensor, I think. I don't know. And it's got an L mount, which is good because that's what all of our cameras are. Because we use a bunch of the Lumix Panasonic cameras for our main cameras. Now, oh wait, do I already have one of these batteries? Get off. Boom, I already got one of these batteries. So now we got a backup battery in case, you know, the world ends and power goes out. The one thing with this is there is no screen, which is good for most of the things that you're going to use it for. It has a USB out, so USB-C out for recording, because these ones don't have a SD card slot. But you can record to a hard drive, like this, like the Samsung T, whatever, if you do video stuff, you probably have a million of these just lying around. Anyway, so now we can just mount it to this and then record to this, and the transfer speeds will be better and everything will be awesome. But the biggest thing is I can now control the shutter speed, the ISO, I can tell it to record, I can change the focus from the computer here. I don't have to sit and destroy my knees trying to go stupid and just cursing at a camera the whole time. It does have HDMI out, so if you want to plug in a monitor and then stand next to it and adjust stuff, which we might do, just to get the framing right off the bat. But that's pretty much it. Now we're going to switch to the computer. I'm going to plug this in. We'll go through a bunch of the stuff that you can do just from the computer, controlling it from the computer. You do need to have SDI in and SDI out. SDI out, obviously giving you the video signal. SDI in, telling it all the things that you want it to do. So now we can do that. We have the technology. Anyway, here's a tiny ass camera that we're going to use on a bunch of stuff.